Hey guys, it's Destiny with Easy Marketing, and today I have Allison Perkins, who is running for a House of Representative seat in Maine. How are you today, Allison?
I'm great, Destiny. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing pretty good. We're going to go ahead and dive straight into this interview with the first question. Can you start by introducing yourself for those who don't know you?
Sure. Like you said, I am Allison Perkins, and I live in Cornville, Maine, with my husband Josh, who is an auto mechanic. He works in Fairfield, and we live with our two sons, William and Pax. They're 16 and 5. I currently work in special education for our local charter school. And after working the last 8 years for the state of Maine's Department of Health and Human Services, where I was an eligibility specialist for the food supplement, main care, and TANF programs. I'm currently a member of IWW, International Workers of the World, and during my years of public service was a member and former vice president of Maine Service Employees Association, MSCA, SEIU Local 1989. And I enjoy spending time with my family, volunteering for causes I care about, reading and listening to books and movies, mostly fantasy fiction, and catching a hockey game in the winter. Go Bruins!
Okay, awesome, awesome. So you're like a mom, you're a part of a union. That's really good. Just some good insight on you and really well versed in service, I see as
Yeah.
well. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so I do know you are running against an incumbent. So for the second question, how are you uniquely the best candidate for this job versus him?
I recognize that our district has been missing a working class voice, someone who will listen to their constituents and take the time to understand the issues and work together with our friends and neighbors to find solutions. I've worked in public service for over 15 years combined, mostly with low income Mainers. And I understand that well intentioned decisions may be made at the top. They can have serious consequences for the rest of us.
Yeah.
Sexual preference, gender identity, marriage equality, racial justice and equity, and now keeping the right to abortion and contraception are all at risk still and
Right.
again. And I won't sit by and watch vote after vote against those things. And I'll keep our freedom of choice alive with a commitment to anti racism and anti hatred.
Okay, okay, tackling a lot. That's good. That's good. And I think most of the time, that's what people want, no matter what district. You want that working class voice because we are all working class citizens. And just having that constant reminder, especially in a government office, is really good to have. Okay,
Absolutely.
okay. So you did sprinkle in a little bit of here and there about your like things that you're going to vouch for. But what is your overall platform as you're running for this position?
Sure. Well, the aforementioned, and knowing that when we give tax cuts to the rich, they hoard money for generations. But when we invest in working people, everybody wins. The working class, especially direct service workers right now, are what will keep Maine going. As the oldest state in the nation, we need folks that will ensure older Mainers can thrive through their golden years and that we all can enjoy having clean air, lands, and water, being able to put food on the table and heat our homes and not worry about like our lifestyles being a political pawn. To live free in our state, I think we can continue to achieve those things by working together to get things done, not just between political parties, but inviting folks to be part of the process every step of the way to achieve those goals.
Okay, okay. So what are the main issues you want to focus on when you are elected?
Yeah, so the state of Maine has made some massive investments with help from the Biden administration in the last couple of years and through the pandemic. And I want to continue that momentum to ensure high speed internet actually becomes available and that infrastructure investments are being followed through. We have a plan to mitigate and possibly reverse the PFAS or forever chemicals crisis we're seeing rise here in Maine, and that we're able to further steps to alleviate the housing crunch and add safe and affordable housing options that are both sustainable and that workers have jobs that pay enough to afford them.
Okay, okay. So I know you said high-speed internet. That's something I've never really knew what could be a like a government issue. So that's good that, of course, you and the viewers also and voters will know of that. And of course, housing is a universal thing as well, not just in Maine. So that's really good to kind of keep that on the forefront of conversation. And then I liked how you said also just making sure the pre-established investments are still being done. I think those are really good things to bring up. So I appreciate that. Awesome. Awesome. Okay, so how do you plan to execute these plans and to ensure that they become a reality? I know just kind of holding the current officials accountable and making sure that they follow through, but what other things are you planning to do?
Yeah, so like with high-speed internet, it's going to be holding the stakeholders of that process accountable and supporting that efforts, made in the negotiation with service providers,
Hmm.
helping to support that, or being open to having a public utility. If that's not working with what's there, we might have to look at, alternative sources. And then with the PFAS or forever chemicals crisis, Senator Angus King submitted an earmark for $19 million to be used by the Maine Department of Environmental Protection to upgrade and reestablish capacity at Anson Madison Sanitation District, which is part of this district.
Okay.
And they could be the first of its kind PFAS remediation facility in the country, which would filter forever chemicals from the contaminated water back
Hmm.
to safe drinking standards. So I've talked with members of our district who support this initiative and look forward to working with them and others to see that come to fruition. And as for Maine's affordable housing, I think at the municipal level, each town has its own diverse needs. And we should look at ways that we can think about how to free up already empty properties that are for sale, looking at incentives to be long-term landowners, and investing in abandoned commercial properties where they can be remodeled for low-income housing.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. So I know that, of course, conversations like this go across different districts, of course, different government officials. But do you have any strategies to come to an agreement with other party lines? I know that's also something of concern just in this political atmosphere. But
Yeah.
do you have a plan of action to tackle, party lines issues?
Sure. I think it'll really start with an open mind and a listening ear to where we have common ground.
Hmm.
And the hard truth about being an elected official is that you'll never make decisions that will please everyone.
Hmm.
So my strategy is to do the best with what we do have in common and really consider new points of view.
Yeah, just having that finding that middle ground, which is good. I think sometimes that's mistaken or just kind of pushed to the back burner in politics, but just making sure that you guys find a middle ground is always the uh, original thing to do. Okay, okay. So now, just so that people can get a little bit more familiar with you as a government official, soon to be, hopefully, what are your views on the current issues facing lawmakers? I know you mentioned little things about like gun control, maybe voting rights, things of that nature. I know also you mentioned the economy, so you can throw that in there as well.
All right. Wow. That's a loaded question, right?
I know.
So when it comes to gun control, I believe in the Second Amendment
Mhm.
and come from a line of lifelong hunters and fishermen and women, particularly on my dad's side. I, like many Mainers, grew up with a healthy respect for guns and understood their dangers and support programs that educate young and old on firearm and hunter safety. I encourage safety initiatives like gun locks and storing your ammunition separately, and have yet to hear an argument for a need for having high capacity clips or automatic weapons.
Mhm.
I think folks who have been determined unfit to have a weapon shouldn't have access to one. Um, and I've also experienced the tragedy of losing a loved one to self-inflicted gunshot wound, which leans my views for better mental health and substance abuse treatment infrastructure and access. I've lost a total of 7 family members to suicide or overdose, and I recognize that alarming trend is really only increasing, and the support for mental and behavioral health is a personal priority.
Mhm.
Um, and thinking about some of the other issues, like for voting rights, I believe that's a critical part of being an American citizen and shouldn't be any more complicated than it already is. Maine has a robust voting process and is quite secure, and I think works well for us.
Okay, that's good. That's good. I do like how you just mentioned the other aspects of like voting rights and other things that maybe some people don't focus on, like you said, the mental health, and also just kind of certain safety requirements that you need to be a responsible gun owner. And I think that's just the conversation that's also being pushed to the back burner in, of course, like main media. But of course, like I said, I just inserted these questions just so that voters know you personally know what you're gonna, of course, initiate and help with them for. So, yes, okay, and you did mention your family in the last question, and of course in the first one. But how much does your family story influence your politics?
Yeah, I'd say my family affects my influence on politics a great deal. During my childhood, my dad worked in factories, and I saw a huge difference in the number of hours he had to work, safety on the job, and benefits he had when he worked for a union employer versus a non-union employer.
Hmm.
And we were working class poor, and my mother was a homemaker raising my brother and I, while my dad worked and struggled with substance abuse. We received one form of welfare or another much of that time, which seemed to carry much more stigma back then. Um, and I also had a rocky start in adulthood. I was homeless for a short period of time between paychecks. And I
Hmm.
had my oldest son 3 days after my 20th birthday and was a single mother for a number of years after that. So I really built my career path on the drive to help others out of tough situations like that. And I'll do everything I can to continue doing that at the State House.
Awesome, awesome. That's also just one of my personal favorite questions. Just because I like to insert certain questions just so that people can see who you are, not just, of course, what maybe just being a government official will put on you. So that's really good to kind of just bring that out into the open, especially during interviews like this on a very serious matter. Okay, okay. So the next question is, what is a common misconception you want to debunk in the political scene for your district?
Sure. So one of them is we're not all Republican, and not all Republicans are bad people. In fact, most of the ones I've talked to in my district are good folks and want to thrive and want their communities to thrive. And the rest of us want that for others too.
Mhm.
Maine has a citizens legislature, which means the typical House seat is likely an educator, firefighter, small business owner, fisherman, farmer, or retiree, and not a career politician.
Okay.
Mostly just everyday folks trying to do their best for their communities and our state. Our US Senators, Angus King and Susan Collins, are career politicians, however, and why I support term limits in Congress.
Okay, okay, that's good. That's good. I just think that's also a good question, just because that's originally what was supposed to kind of take place in the government office. It's like regular people, everyday people, not like you said, always career politicians. You may have some, but then that's when you insert, like you said, maybe some term limits just to kind of keep the flow, fresh ideas, and just the working class in the know and also in the seat to make certain decisions for everybody else.
Sure.
Okay, okay. And another question, just the last one, just to kind of piece everything together. What is something you want your voters to take from this interview? Like, just overall to keep in mind once they come to vote in November, things of that nature.
Yeah, just really that they have a choice this election. I'm the candidate that will vote for the working class, racial equity, women's rights, and the environment. And I'll work with, please contact me if you have any questions or ideas. It's AllisonPerkinsForMaine.com. And thank you, Destiny, for the interview. And for those watching, please, please, please be a voter and ask your friends and family to vote too.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just going to ask that question one more time because it kind of buffed, like, pause in the middle of it.
Sure.
But so, yeah, I'll just make a mental note of that. But I'm asking one more time just to kind of get the full message. I want you to have
Sure.
the full floor. Okay. So, just for the last question, I wanted to ask, what is something you want your voters to take from this interview?
Sure. That they have a choice this election, and I'm the candidate that will vote for the working class, racial equity, and women's rights, and the environment. And I will work with you to get things done. My contact information is at the bottom of my website, so please contact me if you have any questions or ideas. AllisonPerkinsFromMaine.com. So thank you. destiny for the interview. And for those watching, please, please be a voter and ask your friends and family to vote too.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much, Allison. You have done this interview very gracefully. I loved it. And of course, like you said, I will put your social media as well as your website in the link in the description below,
Awesome.
just so they have all the access to that. And I wish you the best of luck. And thank you so much again for speaking with me.
Thank you for the opportunity. I really do appreciate it.
You're so welcome. Alrighty, you have a great rest of your day. Okay.
You too.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye bye.
I hope you guys enjoyed the interview just as much as I did, and if so, don't forget to like, comment, and share this video with your friends. If you or someone you know would like to be a part of our Political Lens series, check out the description below for my email. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel for weekly content. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and see you next time.